Hi everybody, today's video is all about the abdominals. So the only thing I have got is a little towel that you might want to put underneath your head. It also might be a little assistant if you want to lift the head, neck and chest up and it's too difficult for you to put the hands behind the head. So we're going to come down onto the mat and just however works best for you, just carefully. And I want you just to begin lying on your back. So I'm going to carefully draw the hip bones backwards, lay the spine all the way down, and if you want you can have that towel underneath your head. It's entirely up to you, but I'm just going to put it behind me for a moment. Now the hands are down by your sides, the feet hip socket width apart, nice and flat. Imagine 2 glasses of water just balancing on top of both of your knees. And I want you just to, for a moment, think about your pelvis. Your pelvis is a very mobile structure, so it can tip backwards and it can tip forwards. So backward pelvic tilts, forward pelvic tilts, and I'm making these quite big. Make sure that you are able to do this with your pelvis. Drawing the hip bones backwards, think about the bowl of soup, drawn into the belly button, and then drawing the hip bones forwards, pushing the soup down towards the pubic bone. Now I want you to sit with that bowl of soup absolutely level. My arms are down by my sides and I can feel the same amount of palm, elbow, tricep, shoulder blade on left to right. And then taking a wide full inhale, as I exhale, I'm just going to think about how level my sacrum is and how connected, very lightly, my bottom ribs, or my T12, remember that thoracic 12 spinal bone vertebra, is connected to the mat. And then another big inhale, and as you exhale with nothing moving, I'm going to pick one leg up to bent knee. Now I want you to imagine that you are on a lie-low as you bring this foot down, and you're going to very slowly pick the other leg up. So on your lie-low, there's icy cold water all around, and we're lowering that foot back down, very gentle, alternating left to right. Nothing changes. Shoulders don't begin to round. You don't start to allow your back to arch as the leg comes up. You don't start to allow the tummy to push out. Now to make it slightly more challenging, this alternating left to right, you could possibly leave the foot that's on the floor just very lightly on the floor. So when you make that little changeover, there's a very light pressure on the sole of the foot that's left in contact. And when you bring that foot down, and I can feel the stomach gets more and more challenged as I make the changeover. And then slowly on this next one, feel how the stomach has to work a little harder to keep the bones maintained in that position. I'm going to leave one leg up. Now slowly from there, an inhale to prepare, create length through the whole of the body, work through the center as you bring your other leg up. Now I'm going to just keep them about hip socket width apart. I'm not going to change the angle behind my knees, and I'm really going to take almost a photograph in my mind of how stable the pelvis is relative to the rest of the spine. Remember, your pelvis is very mobile. Your job is to keep it stable. Keeping the angle behind the knee, you're going to take one of those legs towards the floor and bring it all the way back up. We repeat on the other side. Now if it starts to go into your low back, you're going to just maybe tip that bowl of soup a millimetre back towards the belly button. Be careful that your legs are not getting wider, so don't want your thigh bones to get wider than your hip sockets. We're just going to do a couple of these. Are the shoulders beginning to round? Is the pelvis absolutely stable? You do not want to let that pelvis move. And it's your abdominals that are trying to keep your pelvis there. Because if you let your abdominal wall ping up towards the ceiling, just do one more each side, then you're going to let the pelvis move forwards. It's a really simple concept. Be really careful that you're not letting that angle alter behind your knee. And then you're going to pause. Now, if you need a break, please just hug your knees in towards your chest. And now from there, we're going to glue those legs together. And I'm just going to bring my shins down a little and pause. So from there, if you've had enough, please take a break. Some thigh bone circles, release the back. But if you'd like a little progression, as I inhale, I'm taking both legs this time, wrapped in king film from heel to hip. And then I bring it back up to the start position. And again, we take them both, and I'm really thinking about keeping that pelvis as still as possible and all the way back in. We're going to do 2 more. So we take it towards the floor and all the way back in. Now just look out for things. If it's bothering your neck, pop that little towel underneath your neck. Again, or rather underneath your head, towards the floor and back. And you could just do 1 more with the hands up. So just feel how different it is to not have the stability of your arms. And all the way back. Let your knees bend, hug for a momentary second, carefully take one foot down, other foot down, arms out to T position. Now we're going to release your lower middle back. So we're going to just take the legs as a pair across to one side, length through the whole of the spine, and across to the other side. Now I'm keeping my upper middle back still, whilst the low middle back rotates. But the low back, that's your lumbar spine, that's not doing the rotation. It's your lowest middle back that's doing this rotation. And I'm keeping my feet about a small football's width apart. And again to the side. Now you could always do this with your legs up like so, slightly more challenging, but if your hip flexors were tired from the last exercise, you definitely don't want to be up here challenging them further. So from there, depending where your legs are, we're going to bring your legs up and up, hold behind your knees, and you're going to create a little bit of length at the back of the neck, pick your head, neck and chest up. So we've got flexion of our spine. And then you're going to just lay the head, neck and chest all the way back down again. Inhale, wide and full, and on the exhale you're going to lift, 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 and lay the bones back down. So we're just getting that upper middle back moving a little. These are your upper abdominals doing this. Now if you can, with flow, we take the feet towards the floor, all the way back up onto the seat bones, and lift the eyes. So simply from here, we're going to do a little bit of flexion of the lower spine now. So I'm drawing the hip bones backwards, making that little C curve, and pause. Back onto your seat bones, lift your eyes. More progressive would be to take the arms in front. Draw the hip bones lightly backwards, just as far as you can manage, and all the way back up again. And again, inhale, and as you exhale, draw those hip bones not too far back. We don't want to overly lengthen and strain the low back. And all the way back up again. Now, we did a little version of this in the last video, and it was a little hinge of our back. So rather than flexing, we're going to keep our back really straight and just hinge. Now be careful that you don't leave the head behind and have the head like so. You want to think straight line. Come all the way forwards, and we'll just round a little forwards to reach that low back, middle back eyes. And again, a little hinge. You go back as far as you can hold this. And then all the way forwards and reach that low back, middle back, upper back eyes. Now on this next one, you might want to add to this. So we've come to a hinge, my feet are nice and flat. And I'm going to bring my arms up. Up, 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 up. And then I'm going to bring my arms back down. And if you keep your body absolutely still, rounding forwards, then your abdominals will naturally kick in to keep you in that position. But it's a case of being smart and thinking about it. So stay in that hinged position. Do not move anything. Now, if you feel yourself starting to round, maybe just leave your arms here. But if you can, those arms go back, and I can really feel that challenging my stomach. I'm not going to let myself arch the back, but now I'm going to round forwards and reach that low back, eyes. Let's just go one more. Hinge, arms come up, pause, hold. Feel how your back would like to round forwards, but we almost think about lifting the heart upwards as we bring it all the way back around, and bringing it forwards. Now slowly from there, I want you just to think about adding a little bit to our flexed spine. So we're now rounding back, and this time we're going to pause. Now obviously I don't want you to do this. If ever you've had any disc issues, you don't add flexion and rotation, but a good healthy back can now take one arm out to the side and all the way back, and the other arm out to the side. Now this is a rotation, and again think middle back, so your very mobile pelvis has to stay very still. So does your lower back. Lower back stays really still, and all the way back, and then all the way back up, and lift, 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 lift. If it helps you to just push down onto your knees and come into a little bit of extension, then please do, if that helps you to release your low back. And again, we're just going to do one more of these, bringing it down, pause, and slowly you're going to take your arm out to the side. I'm almost sending my other arm a little forwards, and all the way back. Now just be careful of what your shoulders are doing. Your shoulders are not lifting at all, middle back, and pause. And then maybe for the last one we could take both arms out. I'm trying to maintain that C curve, round everything forwards, and reach that low back, upper back, eyes. Reach one leg forwards. Take your hands behind your other leg. And you're going to draw your hip bones slightly backwards, and this time we come all the way down, 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 down. Inhale at the bottom. As you exhale, lift your head, neck and chest up, pause. I'm going to push the thigh bone a little away from you, and keep that foot moving forwards to bring me all the way back up. Now if you can, and make sure those seat bones are not trapped underneath you, we're going to do a little upper tree. So we're going to see if we could reach that leg up to straight, and from there I'm pulling my seat bone back, almost pushing my pelvis a little forwards. And now start to walk my hands down my leg, control, 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 control. Now when I come down here, again pull your seat bone down, make sure the back hasn't flattened. And we're going to come all the way back up again. So slowly up and up and up, and pull the seat bones back. If you can hold that foot, great. If you can't, go wherever feels good to you. Seat bone back, heart lifts, and we'll do one more. We're taking it down and down, control, breathe, and pause now. Pull that seat bone on the right down, making that little bit of curve in your low back. And now we could inhale. And as you exhale, watch those shoulders, don't overly round, lift, 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 lift. If you can hold that foot, great. If not, it doesn't matter. But you're pulling the seat bone down, pulling this seat bone back, which enables you to tip the pelvis a little more forwards, and you get a much better stretch through that hamstring. Place that foot all the way back down, and we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. Draw the leg in, start with our modified version. Hip bones lightly come backwards, we articulate down through the spine, pause. Inhale as you lift your head, neck and chest, start to push that thigh bone away from you, all the way back up, back up, back up, and nice and tall. Make sure those seat bones are not trapped underneath you. And we're going to lift, 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 lift. Up to you if you try to go for the foot, but again, I'm trying to pull this seat bone right back. Be careful of rounded backs. So maybe you're better to get up onto those seat bones, pull them back, and not have such a straight leg. And then you're going to walk it down and down and down and down. And pause. Lift your head, neck and chest. Start to lower that leg. You have to lower it in order to get yourself back up. That is simple physics. Pull your seat bone back. Really feel that you're almost trying to get a little bit of curvature into that low back. And we'll just do one more. Down and down and down. So there's a little bit of articulation and abdominals. And you're also getting a nice stretch for the hamstrings. All the way up, 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 up. Pull the seat bone back. And that little curve in your low back, lift your heart. Now slowly from there, place that foot all the way back down. Come back to the first leg. And we're going to go into our little series of 5, the classical series of 5 abdominal exercises. Now we bring it all the way down, but this time I'm going to hover my leg up. If you have a neck issue, you can take that towel, you can pop it underneath your head, and obviously your leg would come a little higher. You want to be able to stabilize your pelvis and your low back with the position that you've chosen. But remember that tail, try not to let it drop too low. Ideally, we would be here with the head, neck and chest lifted. So organize your shoulders, make sure they're not lifted. Make sure your tail is not dropped down. And we're simply from there going to draw in and switch. In and switch. The lower the leg that is outstretched, the more challenging this is going to be to keep your tail ever so slightly lifted. Pull, pull, and switch. Again, stability of the pelvis. Remember, your pelvis is a very mobile thing. So your job is to keep it as still as possible, and then your lumbar spine is more likely to be kept more stable. And we're just going to do one more each side. And pull it in and pause. You could take your head, neck and chest down if you need to, just for a moment. Make sure the shoulders are relaxed. If you can, lift the head, neck and chest back up again. And we're going to take the hands behind the middle skull. This is a modified version of this. So we would reach the legs away from you. Again, be careful the tail doesn't drop, and bring them back in. I'm going to show you a version of this using the towel. Can you remember how we folded the towel over, we put it underneath our middle skull, and we used it as a little assistant. This is always an option if it's too difficult for you to get your hands behind your middle skull. So again, this is modification. The classical version, full version, hands by the outside edges of the knees. We reach the hands back, no further with the arms than your ears. Circle around and bring it back in. Breathing ideally, inhale and exhale. And inhale and exhale. Notice how first we outstretch the arms, then move, and then the legs move. Just one more. Reach and around and all the way back in. Let yourself have a little moment. You can always keep this flowing if you wish. So if you're practicing, you can keep that going. If you're doing the video more than once, you could keep that going, add reps, keep it going as a fluid series. So from here, we're going to do number 3. I want you to lift your head, neck and chest up again, reach the leg away, draw the other leg in, and you're going to take your hands behind your middle skull. Again, you could use the towel. Now remember, your pelvis is stable, your lumbar spine is stable, but your middle back is now going to rotate towards that knee. My goal is not to touch the knee. And then I'm going to switch. It is not about having to touch the knee. And we switch. Now again, can you really focus on your tail, that it doesn't drop? And we switch. So I'm looking far away from me, focusing on the mobility of my middle back. Keep breathing. Keep supporting with those hands to the head, not pulling on your neck, just supporting. So think about the organization. If you were a digger, this center would be the carriage, the digger's central engine.
And that's the bit that gets moved to the site of the digging, and then it's the arms and the legs, the limbs, that can then work in a lengthened fashion from that centre. And then you're just going to pause and hold it there. Now, if you can, we reach both legs up towards the ceiling. This can be done with your head down if you wish. But ideally the head is up, and we're going to lower one leg. It's not touching the floor. And we bring it back up. Again, can you think stable pelvis, tail slightly lifted. Your pelvis is not moving. So that's where all of our hip mobility work is really important. If you don't have mobility in the hip, then you're not going to be able to disassociate the thigh bone from the pelvis. And we'll just do one more, and then you're more likely, obviously, to an unstable pelvis. So I'm trying to get things to be a little bit more simple. And pause here. So again, I'm thinking, could I pull my seat bones down towards the floor, a little tiny curve in my low back, and I'm going to lower both legs, and I'm going to lift them back up. Now you could obviously do both of these last exercises with a bent knee. So it would look like so, tiny little range, and obviously the last one would look like so. So there's always a modification, and your head could be down if you wish. And now remember, if you are doing the full one, control the position of your seat bones, control the position of your tail, control that mobile pelvis. And we're just going to do one more. Lower, 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 and lift, lift, lift. Now, let's just add one last one here. We add rotation to the straight leg. Bringing it up. Rotation to that straight leg. Rotation and rotation. And again, rotation. Last one, rotation. Bringing it up. Bring your knees in. You can do whatever feels nice to you to just give yourself a little moment. Little circling one way, circling the other. Inhale as you lift your head, neck and chest, and however feels good to you, however many rocks it might take, you're going to come all the way back up and pause. Now obviously remember, flexions might not be for you. You might have to modify with your transitions from the mat to a seated position. We're just going to do a little seated rotation for a second. So if you need to sit on a chair, if you want to sit on your towel, if you want to sit on blocks or books or something, then please do. But you need to be able to try to get your back as flat as possible. So you're going to bring your arms up. You're going to bring one elbow back. Let's go right elbow back. Now I'm feeling my seat bones pushing down. I've got a little curve in my low back. And then from there I send ever so slightly the left hand forwards, the right elbow back. The right arm out stretches, the thumbs come up. Stabilize your pelvis, pull the shoulder blades a little apart, and we rotate around all the way back. Palms down, elbow, fingertips, straightening your arm, thumbs come up. Now remember, your pelvis is stable as you pull those shoulder blades apart and look towards the backhand all the way back. Now I'm going to simplify this just as we did with the last exercise. Your shoulders should not be lifting. Remember we did almost the pistol, as though you were going to get the pistol out of the back pocket, or a holster, or you were going to get your wallet out of the back pocket. So if I left my left hand onto my left leg, and I start to middle back rotate, drawing the elbow back, the shoulders don't get any higher, and then bring it back. So if you're struggling with stability, doing the full rotational exercise, come back to this one. It's still really beneficial. And you shouldn't see your shoulders lift and your elbow get higher. If that's happening, slow it down, reduce the range, make sure you're moving from the right place, which is that middle back.
And again, imagine you just feel the hand reaching forwards, the other coming back. And then we can just do a couple more, almost learning from what we've taught ourselves. Pull those shoulder blades back. And again, palms face down, elbow comes back on the left, reach the right fingers forwards. Left arm out stretches. Remember, you're absolutely stable in your pelvis. Thumbs up, shoulder blades pull a little apart, move from your rib cage. You can look towards the backhand if you wish, all the way back, and bring it all the way down. So, middle back rotation is so important. We don't really need the towel unless you've got maybe slightly uncomfortable knees. You could always kneel onto the towel. But now we're going to do a little bit of our waist, which is what the rotations are for as well. They keep a good abdominal, sort of complete abdominal wall working well. So we're going to take one foot out to the side. With alignment, try and keep the big toe level with about your knee on the front. Keep thinking pubic bone a little forwards, hip bones a little backwards. Now, ideally, we're going to come into a pistol grip. So I want you to hold like so, the hands together above the head. Now, if this is too difficult for you, very welcome to be down here, okay? But ideally, we're up to here. Now from here, I want you just to think about what we've learned about lateral flexion. When we start to laterally flex, it comes from your ribs starting to part away from each other. And you're only going to go as far as you can control this, and then those ribs draw back together again. And again, part the ribs. Keep thinking, do I change anything on that underside knee, that underside thigh bone? I would much prefer that you reduced the range and you maintained good form. Are you breathing? Perhaps an inhale. That's going to help you to expand those ribs, and an exhale as you bring it back. Let's go one more. To the side, to the side, to the side, and all the way back down. Now slowly from there, bring your arms all the way down. Still think lateral flexion here. So you're going to be parting those ribs, part them, part them, part them, part them, and find your hand to the floor. You might need to bring ever so slightly that outstretched leg in. Now this may be where you stay, and then you might just come all the way back to here, to come up and over. But if you can, we're going to try a little side plank. So we use those ribs parting to bring you into this side bent position. Now make sure you have good purchase on your outstretched foot. I'm constantly thinking about pulling those ribs apart, stabilize my underside shoulder, and I just take that underside foot and tuck it underneath. That's all I want you to do, but I want you to think about the concept of lateral flexion. Bring that knee directly underneath you again, and bring it all the way up and over the other way. Keep the flow, laterally flex as you've taught yourself. Perhaps pull that foot in a little. Other leg outstretches. Keep thinking about your concept of lateral flexion. Bringing that knee under you again, push the pubic bone forwards and all the way up and over. Just one more. Nice and simple, trying to follow these lovely patterns of movement. Shortening on the underside, lengthening on the top side of your ribs. And then slowly from there, all the way back up. And if we can establish these, then adding to all of these exercises becomes an awful lot easier. Doing exactly the same on the other side. Leg comes out, now that we know what we're doing. Little pistol grip if you can. Pubic bone forwards, hip bones a little back. We're going to come over and bring it back. Now, did you just lean, or did you think about relaxed shoulders and parting those ribs, and now pulling the ribs back in? So we're not going to work, remember, from a fixed center. You're going to work through your center. So thinking about lengthening all the time. And are you breathing? If you don't breathe, your diaphragm doesn't work properly, and we haven't got the stability that the diaphragm offers us. And on this next one, the arms can come down. Think about lateral flexion and pause. One side might be easier than the other. I allow the outstretched foot just to come in a little so that I can get my shoulder in a good position above my hand. And then slowly from there, just tucking that underside arm. I don't lose the lateral flexion, otherwise you collapse. Bring that knee back underneath you, and with flow we come all the way over. 2 more. Laterally flex, up to come over. Pull that foot in just a little. Keep the lateral flexion, because I can feel my waist is really lifting me up. And just tuck that foot underneath. I can feel this all working because of the concept of the lateral flexion. And all the way back up to come up and over. We're just going to do one more. Laterally flex. Foot comes in a little on that underside. Reach it out. And slowly from there, bring the knee underneath you and come all the way up to come over. Slowly from there, we're going to face the front and do a little bit of plank work. So don't be afraid of the plank. Just think about good organisation. All the things that we've been trying to think about over the last couple of weeks. So to keep it easy, let's come down onto our elbows just to give the wrists a little bit of a break. So we're onto the elbows, and the hip bones, I've just pulled them a little further up towards my waist. And I want to slowly from there, bring my knees underneath me. So I'm going to bring myself up onto my knees like so. Obviously we can't plank from here, so I'm going to start to take my knees one at a time with very stable shoulders, just back a little. Relaxing the feet, allow the hips to come a little towards the floor, and you will get to a point that you feel, yeah, that's pretty nice. If ever you had the chance to get a mirror, just be careful that you don't see yourself down here, or with your bottom sticking up, or too high up here. Try and have those shoulders directly over your elbows. No tension in your neck. Don't yank at your shoulders. Just let them be soft. Now slowly from there, if we can, you're going to tuck both toes under. You're going to think about that low hairline gently drawing in, and you're going to squeeze your legs out to straight. Let the knees come back down again. Release your toes. Slowly from there, come all the way up onto your hands and pause. Now my hands are directly underneath my shoulders again. Tuck those toes under and just squeeze yourself back up to this lovely position. Back down onto the knees again. And carefully, one elbow, then the other. Lovely long and lengthened neck. Tucking those toes underneath you again. Think about good form. You want to keep that little curve in your low back as we squeeze the legs to straight. Hold it here. You can hold for as long or as little as you like. Knees back down. Release the toes. One hand at a time. Pause. So you don't need to add these if your wrists are bad. Tucking both of your toes underneath. Just allow a softness in your shoulder blades and just straighten out those legs. Hold and breathe. Knees come down again. We just got one more set. Relax the toes, elbow, elbow. Pause. You do not need to add this straightening if you don't want to. So if you're able to, please do. If you're not, keep it at the modified version. Last one. Release the toes, hand, and pause. Breathe. Shoulders. Tuck those toes. Stretch it out. Pause. And slowly from there, an upside down V. Bring your feet underneath you. Spike those seat bones. Add a little bit of curvature into your low back. And that should feel really quite nice. So slowly from there, however works for you, bring it all the way back up. We're not quite finished. I'm going to come to the front of my mat again and pause.
And we're just going to do a little bit of roll up. Now you might want to use a band around your feet for this. It's entirely up to you. And I'm going to draw it all the way down, 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 all the way back. As the arms come up, lift the head, neck and chest. And then breathing out, 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 we bring it all the way back with a little stretch forwards. Now keep going that way if you can, but remember we've been practicing a little bit of just these lovely modified roll-ups. Maybe this is better for you. And inhale as you lift the head, neck and chest. Remember, just push the thighs away and all the way back up. You would drag the feet as you come all the way down. And lift the head, neck and chest, push the thigh bones all the way away, feet come down and lift up. All I'm trying to do is just move your back, release your back a little, but if you can, we're going to just do 2 more of these full roll-ups. Glue the legs together, and inhale as you lift, and then exhale as you bring it all the way forwards. You can add a little bit of lengthening and stretching if you wish. Seat bones backwards, and we have 1 more. Now, I just want you to think, roll over. If you do a roll over in the class normally with ease, you're more than welcome to try it now. If you don't ever do roll over in the class, or it's something that is difficult for you, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't, maybe you can get it with a prop, please don't do it at home. We really don't want you to hurt your back. Just keep doing a few more little just roll ups like so. You may even just find yourself coming all the way back and taking a moment like this just to release, okay? Please be sensible, make a sensible decision here. But if you can, we're going to do the rollover. It's very much one of our abdominal exercises. So you're lying on your back, you've got no furniture behind you that you're going to kick. You're going to bring one leg up. There's no towel, no block underneath your head. And you'll bring your other leg up. Now, as I start to straighten my legs up, I'm thinking about keeping the little curve in my low back and my seat bones drawn down towards the floor. Be careful of your shoulders, don't let them creep forwards. I can feel my palms, elbows, triceps, outer edges of shoulder blades. As I slowly draw the legs all the way back behind me, flex deeply through your ankles, pushing those heels away from you. I've parted the legs to about hip socket width apart, and I'm going to lay the bones all the way down. Point, reach them a little away from you, draw the legs together. Again, seat bones pull down. As we come up to come over, it should not be strenuous. If it's strenuous, then please don't do it. All the way down, it should feel like a nice little massage for your back. Those arms are by your sides. We come up to come over. Flex deeply through your ankles. Push your heels to the back wall and really sequentially place those bones back down. We're just going to do 1 more. All the way back. Flex deeply. Then bringing it all the way back down, 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 down. I have 1 last little Brucey bonus. Bring those legs together. If you can, lift your head, neck and chest up. As I reach the legs away, I lift the arms. The legs just come to a certain point, and I lift the heart center into that little teaser position, and bend your knees and take a little stretch forwards. So just to finish, a quick release for the back with the legs in this lovely position. Just find that wave again, up to come around, up to come around, last one, and lift. And then just see if we could think about a little bit of extension of our back. I'm just going to allow my capital E position, then my palms face my ears. And I'm going to think about my pelvis, and the pelvis is really stable. And I'm going to now think lengthen through the crown of my head. So if you do nothing else, just feel that length. Allow the fingertips to lift a millimetre. And then think about your middle upper back and imagine that you could shorten it a little. Shorten it, shortening it, and then allow everything to round forwards. If it's not something that feels comfortable using your arms, then just keep your arms onto your legs and try it again. Feel how stable your pelvis is. With a gentle push down into your arms, think lengthen, or a gentle push down into your legs. Just lengthen your spine first and then think where extension of your middle upper back comes from. It comes from that thoracic spine, not your low back. Lift that heart. And then let everything round forwards. Whatever feels nice to you. Just to finish, that might be a little bit of a massage on the floor. Big inhale and an exhale, and I'll be back really soon with bottom. But today, that's your abdominal exercises. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.